My parents sold our family mansion, the house I grew up in, the house my grandparents built, to pay for my sister's $800,000 wedding. Then, when they still ended up drowning in debt, they had the audacity to blame me for not contributing enough. Let me tell you exactly how their golden child favoritism destroyed them. Growing up, there were two truths in the Henderson family. My sister Olivia could do no wrong and I could do no right. Olivia was the princess. The beautiful one. The charming one. The one whose accomplishments got framed and hung on the wall while mine got a distracted, "That's nice, dear," before the conversation turned back to her. When Olivia made honor roll, my parents threw a dinner party. When I graduated valedictorian, they said they couldn't make the ceremony because they were helping Olivia move into her new apartment. When Olivia wanted to study art history at a private college, $40,000 a year, my parents liquidated investments to pay for it. When I got a full scholarship to engineering school, they said they were so relieved they wouldn't have to pay, and suggested I get a job to cover my living expenses. The favoritism was so blatant that even extended family noticed. My Aunt Rachel pulled me aside at Thanksgiving when I was 23. "Your parents don't deserve you," she said quietly. "You know that, right? The way they treat you compared to Olivia, it's not okay." I appreciated her saying it, but it didn't change anything. I'd learned to build my own life separate from their approval. I became a civil engineer, worked for a top firm, bought my own condo at 28, built a career I was proud of without any help from them. Olivia, meanwhile, bounced between art gallery jobs that paid barely above minimum wage, lived in an apartment my parents subsidized, and somehow remained the center of their universe. Then she got engaged. Brandon was a finance bro from a wealthy family, the kind of guy who wore expensive watches and talked about his portfolio at dinner parties. His parents were old money, the country club charity gala, summer as a verb type. Olivia called me breathlessly excited. He proposed. Riley, he proposed on a yacht. There was a violinist and everything. "Congratulations," I said, genuinely happy for her. Whatever our family dynamics, I didn't wish her unhappiness. "We're thinking next June for the wedding. Something elegant. Probably around 200 guests. His family knows everyone, so it has to be really special." Red flags started waving in my mind. That sounds expensive. Well, Brandon's parents are contributing and Mom and Dad said they'd help. It's my wedding, Riley. My one special day. It should be perfect. Her one special day. As if the previous 29 years hadn't been a string of special days where she was the center of attention. The wedding planning consumed my parents' lives. Every phone call, every dinner, every conversation was about Olivia's wedding. "We're looking at venues," my mother gushed. "There's this gorgeous estate in Connecticut. It's $30,000 just for the venue, but it's worth it for Olivia's special day." "$30,000? I repeated. "Mom, that's..." "We know it's expensive, but this is important. We only have one daughter getting married." She paused, realizing what she'd said. "I mean, one daughter getting married right now. When you meet someone, we'll celebrate you too." The casual erasure. The assumption that my worth was measured in whether I'd landed a husband yet. I let it slide. The wedding plans escalated. The $30,000 venue became a $45,000 venue when they found one Olivia liked better. The flowers went from $8,000 to $15,000. The dress, a custom designer gown, was $18,000. I watched from the sidelines as my parents hemorrhaged money. "Are you sure you can afford this?" I asked my father during one of our increasingly rare phone calls. "We'll figure it out," he said tersely. "This is Olivia's dream wedding. She deserves it after everything she's been through." Everything she's been through. She'd never been through anything. She'd been coddled and protected and handed everything her entire life. But I didn't argue. Not my wedding. Not my money. Not my problem. Then my mother called with exciting news. "Riley, we've made a decision. We're selling the house. The house. The family mansion where we'd grown up. The beautiful colonial that my grandparents had built in the 1960s. The house with 4 acres of land, the house with memories in every room, the house that had been in our family for 60 years. You're selling Grandma and Grandpa's house?" My voice came out strangled. "It's the practical thing to do. The place is too big for just your father and me now. And the money from the sale will help us give Olivia the wedding she deserves. Plus, we can pay off some debts and have money for retirement." "Mom, that house is worth at least $2 million. You're selling it to pay for a wedding. To pay for your sister's happiness," she corrected. "And to set ourselves up better financially. We're downsizing to a condo. It makes sense. Did you ask me if I wanted to buy it? That house was supposed to stay in the family." "Riley, don't be selfish. This isn't about you. We're making the decision that's best for our family." Our family, which apparently didn't include me or my opinion. They sold the house for $2.3 million. I found out from the real estate listing, not from them. Saw my childhood home on Zillow with staged photos and enthusiastic descriptions of its classic charm and modern updates. I drove by one last time before the sale closed. Stood in the driveway looking at the house where I'd learned to ride a bike, where I'd studied for exams, where I'd dreamed about my future. All of it sacrificed for Olivia's one perfect day. The wedding was scheduled for June 15th at the Connecticut estate venue. 300 guests. The number had grown. Olivia had decided that if you're going to do it big. My invitation arrived late, printed on thick cream cardstock with gold foil lettering. I was invited. Not asked to be in the wedding party. Olivia had her sorority sisters for that. Just invited as a guest. Are you bringing a date? My mother asked when I called to RSVP. No, I'll be coming alone. Oh. The disappointment in her voice was palpable. Well, we've seated you at table 18 with some of Brandon's work friends. They're all single too, so maybe you'll hit it off with someone. Perfect. The single kids table at my sister's wedding. As the wedding approached, the updates got more extravagant. The cake was a 12-tier custom creation costing $15,000. The photographer and videographer package was $35,000. Olivia had decided on a second dress for the reception. Another $12,000. Brandon's parents were contributing $200,000, according to my mother, said with a mix of gratitude and shame. My parents were covering everything else. How much is everything else? I asked. That's not your concern, my mother said sharply. We're handling it. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mother called at 11 at night, which was unusual. Her voice was strained. Riley, we need to talk about your contribution to the wedding. By contribution? I wasn't asked to contribute. Well, we're asking now. Your father and I have been going over the numbers and we're a bit short. We were hoping you could help fill the gap. Maybe $75,000. Actually laughed. $75,000? Mom, are you serious? This is your sister's wedding. Family helps family. I was never asked to be involved in the planning. Never consulted about the budget. Never told you were expecting me to pay. And now, 2 weeks before the wedding, you want $75,000. We raised you. We clothed you and fed you and put a roof over your head. The least you can do is help your sister on her special day. You're selling the family home to fund this wedding. You've made it clear this is Olivia's day and her dream. I'm not writing a check for a wedding I had no say in planning. You're being incredibly selfish. This is why your sister has always been closer to us. She understands family loyalty. I hung up. She called back 3 times. I didn't answer. The wedding day arrived. I drove to Connecticut in my own car wearing a dress I'd bought specifically for this. Elegant but not flashy enough to draw attention. The venue was stunning. The kind of place you see in magazines. Perfectly manicured gardens, a mansion straight out of Gatsby, white chairs set up in rows facing an altar decorated with thousands of flowers. I could practically see the dollar signs floating in the air. The ceremony itself was beautiful, I'll admit. Olivia looked stunning in her $18,000 dress. Brandon looked appropriately smitten. My parents sat in the front row beaming with pride. I sat in the back alone, watching the family I'd never quite belonged to celebrate the daughter they'd always loved more. The reception was even more extravagant. A live band, not a DJ. Champagne towers. A raw bar with oysters and lobster. Wagyu beef for dinner. Every detail screamed money. I was indeed seated at table 18 with Brandon's single colleagues. They were nice enough, but spent most of dinner talking about stock portfolios and crypto investments. During speeches, my father stood up, champagne glass in hand, and talked about how proud he was of Olivia. How she'd grown into such a beautiful, accomplished woman. How Brandon was lucky to have her. No mention of his other daughter. But I'd expected that. My mother's speech was worse. She talked about how she'd always dreamed of this day, planning Olivia's wedding since she was a little girl. How every choice Olivia made was perfect. How this was the happiest day of her life. I excused myself during the dancing and went outside to the gardens. Found a bench overlooking the grounds and just sat watching the sunset and wondering why I'd even come. You okay? I looked up to see Aunt Rachel, my father's sister, sitting down next to me. Just needed some air. This is all a bit much, isn't it? She gestured toward the venue. I heard they sold the family house to pay for this. $2.3 million. Plus they're still in debt apparently. Mom called asking me for $75,000 2 weeks ago. Rachel's eyes widened. They asked you to pay for Olivia's wedding? After never including you in anything? Family helps family, I said bitterly. Except when it's the other direction. Your parents have always been blind when it comes to Olivia. But this. She shook her head. This is financial suicide. A wedding isn't worth destroying your retirement over. Try telling them that. 3 weeks after the wedding, the calls started. My mother crying, saying they'd made mistakes. That the wedding had cost more than expected. The final bill was $850,000. That they'd drained their savings and retirement accounts. That they had credit card debt. We need help, Riley. We're your parents. You made choices, I said. You chose to sell the family house. You chose to fund an obscenely expensive wedding. Those were your decisions. We did it for family. For your sister's happiness. Then ask your sister for help. I hung up. She called back. I didn't answer. 6 months after the wedding, my father called. His voice was defeated in a way I'd never heard. Riley, your mother and I need to talk to you. Can you come over to the condo this weekend? Condo. Their downsized life after selling the mansion. I went, morbidly curious about what disaster they'd created now. The condo was nice enough. A 2-bedroom in a suburban complex. But compared to the mansion, it was claustrophobic. My parents looked older. Stressed. My mother's hair had gone grayer. My father had developed a slight tremor in his hands. We need your help, my father started. Financial help. We've gotten ourselves into a situation. How bad? We owe about $300,000 on credit cards. The interest is killing us. We took out a home equity loan on this condo that we can't afford. We're behind on payments. If we don't figure something out, we might lose this place too. $300,000 in debt. After selling a house worth $2 million plus. What happened to all the money from the house? My mother's face flushed. The wedding was more expensive than we planned. And we had to furnish this place. And there were some other expenses. What other expenses? Silence. Mom, you sold a $2 million house less than a year ago. Where did the money go? We gave Olivia and Brandon a down payment on their house, she said quietly. $200,000. We wanted to help them start their lives together. Actually laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Let me get this straight. You sold the family mansion. You spent $850,000 on a wedding. You gave them another $200,000 for a house down payment. That's over $1 million. And now you're $300,000 in debt and asking me for help. You're our daughter, my father said. We raised you. Stop. Don't give me the "we raised you" speech. You raised Olivia like a princess. You raised me like an afterthought. Every achievement I had was dismissed. Every milestone was overshadowed by whatever Olivia was doing. You paid for her fancy private school and her expensive college and subsidized her entire 20s. I got a scholarship and worked my way through everything. We did our best. Your best was giving everything to one child and scraps to the other. And now that your golden child's perfect wedding has bankrupted you, you want me to fix it. What are we supposed to do? My mother was crying now. We can't afford this condo payment. We can't retire. Your father needs to keep working, but his health isn't good. Have you asked Olivia for help? She has a brand new house you helped buy. She had an $800,000 wedding. Surely she can spare something. The silence told me everything. You haven't asked her, I said. You came to me first because you know she'll say no. Because Olivia has never had to sacrifice anything for anyone. She has her own life to build, my mother said defensively. She and Brandon are trying to start a family. They have their own expenses. And I don't? I don't have my own life? My own expenses? My own plans? You've always been more stable. More responsible. More useful, you mean? Olivia is for loving and celebrating. I'm for fixing problems and writing checks. I stood up. I'm not giving you money. You made your choices. You chose to sacrifice your financial security for one child's extravagant wedding. You chose to give her everything while expecting me to bootstrap my entire life. Live with those consequences. Riley, please, my father said. We're desperate. If you don't help, we could lose everything. You already lost everything. You lost it when you sold Grandma and Grandpa's house for a party. You lost it when you chose to drain your entire future for one day. You lost it every time you chose Olivia over me, over common sense, over your own well-being. How can you be so cruel? My mother sobbed. We're your parents. And I'm your daughter. The one you forgot about. The one you called selfish for not contributing to a wedding I wasn't consulted about. The one you've treated like a backup plan my entire life. You want cruelty? This is just consequences. I left. They called after me. I didn't look back. Over the next month they called 15 times. Sent emails. Showed up at my condo once. I didn't answer the door. Finally Olivia called. Riley, what is wrong with you? Mom and Dad are losing their home because you won't help them. Did they tell you why they need help? They had some unexpected expenses. Your wedding, Olivia. Your $850,000 wedding. Plus the $200,000 down payment they gave you for your house. They bankrupted themselves to give you everything you wanted and now they're drowning. Silence. Then, that was their choice. They wanted to give me a nice wedding. They wanted to give you everything like they always have. And now they're facing homelessness. Are you going to help them? Brandon and I have our own financial planning. We can't just... Exactly. You can't help. But somehow I'm supposed to. You're being so selfish about this. I'm being selfish? Olivia, do you have any idea how much money they spent on you over the years? How much they sacrificed? And you can't help them now. They never asked me to pay them back for anything. And they never gave me anything to pay back. I've built everything I have on my own. You've been subsidized your entire life. If anyone should be helping them, it's you. This is why you've always been jealous of me, she snapped. You can't stand that Mom and Dad love me more. I'm not jealous, Olivia. I'm done. With all of you. I hung up and blocked her number. My parents lost the condo 6 months later. Foreclosure. They had to move into a small apartment in a less desirable area. I found out through Aunt Rachel, who was appalled by the whole situation. Your parents are asking everyone for help, she told me over coffee. They called me asking for $20,000. I told them no, I have my own retirement to worry about. But they're apparently calling every relative they have. What about Olivia? I heard she told them she couldn't help. That she and Brandon have their own obligations. The irony was painful. The daughter they'd given everything to couldn't spare anything when they needed it. A year after the wedding, I got a certified letter. My parents were suing me for elder financial abuse and abandonment. They were claiming I had a legal and moral obligation to support them in their retirement. I showed the letter to my lawyer, who read it and shook his head. This is baseless. Adult children have no legal obligation to financially support their parents in this state unless the parents are indigent and unable to work. Your father still works part-time. They have assets. This will get thrown out immediately. It did. The judge actually reprimanded their lawyer for filing a frivolous lawsuit. But the damage to our relationship was permanent. Not that there was much relationship to damage. 2 years after the wedding, I heard through Aunt Rachel that Olivia and Brandon were getting divorced. Apparently, Brandon's wealthy family hadn't been as welcoming as Olivia hoped. The marriage lasted less than 3 years. My parents, now truly struggling, had taken out a reverse mortgage on Aunt Rachel's advice. They were barely scraping by on my father's part-time work and Social Security. The mansion they'd sold was now worth $3.5 million. The market had gone up. If they'd kept it and downsized strategically, they'd be comfortable. Instead, they were broke, estranged from me, and discovering that Olivia, their golden child, wasn't interested in helping them either. Last month, my mother sent me one final email. Riley, I know we've made mistakes. I know we didn't treat you fairly over the years. Your father is sick now, he has heart problems, and we can't afford proper care. I'm not asking for money anymore. I'm just asking if you'd visit. Let us see you before it's too late. I read that email 3 times. Part of me, a small part, felt sad. They were my parents after all. Imperfect, unfair, but still my parents. But the larger part of me remembered every dismissed achievement. Every time Olivia was chosen over me. Every moment I was made to feel less than. The phone call demanding $75,000. The lawsuit. The decades of being the backup child. I didn't respond. Maybe that makes me cruel. Maybe that makes me cold. But I learned from them that love is conditional, resources are finite, and some bridges burn so thoroughly there's nothing left to rebuild on. They chose to pour everything into Olivia's perfect life, her perfect wedding, her perfect future. They chose to sacrifice security for spectacle. Now they're living with those choices. Just like I'm living with mine. My parents sold our family mansion to fund my sister's $800,000 wedding, then blamed me when the debt destroyed them. They asked why I wouldn't save them after they'd given me nothing but scraps my entire life. The answer was simple. You can't harvest a field you never planted. They invested everything in Olivia. Time, money, love, attention. I was the afterthought, the backup, the one who'd figure it out on her own. So I did figure it out. Built a life, built a career, built a future, all without their help. And when their golden child investment failed to pay dividends, when their financial house of cards collapsed, they expected me to fix everything. But I wasn't their daughter when things were good. I was the forgotten one, the one who didn't matter as much, the one whose life events weren't worth celebrating. I'm not their ATM now that things are bad. Some people say family should forgive everything. That blood is thicker than water. That you only get one set of parents. I say actions have consequences. And 30 years of being the unfavorite child means I don't owe them my savings now that their favorite can't help them. They sold the mansion for a wedding. I sold the relationship for my peace. Fair trade. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, comment below. Would you help parents who treated you this way? I'm curious what others would do. Until next time, remember, you can't expect someone to save you when you never threw them a life raft.